Disclaimer, if you're not good with names, this is not the show for you. Because, I mean, this is a show where we have characters named Rhaenys, Rhaenyra, and Rhaena. Then we have Aegon, Aemond, and Damon, and we also had an Aemon before. So yeah, if you're not good with names, you'll be easily lost and confused by the show. Thankfully, I'm actually really good with names, so that wasn't a problem for me. House of the Dragon, Season 2. Gonna give you a spoiler warning. This season just wrapped, so I'm gonna be talking about what happens in this season, including the finale. So if you haven't watched it all and you're planning on it, well, you've been warned. That's all I gotta say about that. So this is the second season of the prequel series to Game of Thrones, which is now all streaming on Max. And it's been 2 years since we got House of the Dragon Season 1, which, yeah, I'll be honest, going into Season 2, I was like, all right, wait a minute, who are all these people again, and where are we now? I mean, the world of Westeros is really complex. It's got a lot of characters, a lot of lore, a lot of events that happen, and a lot of similar names, so it's really easy to forget stuff. But to catch you up to speed, Season 1 of House of the Dragon ended where Aemon Targaryen and his dragon Vhagar accidentally killed one of Rhaenyra's sons, Lucerys. So now Rhaenyra is super pissed. I mean, even more than she was before, because she still believes that she deserves that Iron Throne, because that is in fact what her father wanted, but in his last moments, Alicent mistook his words, so now her son Aegon is sitting on the Iron Throne, and fit to lead, he is not. So House of the Dragon Season 2 picks up from there, and this season is the Blacks versus the Greens. That's the big thing in this season. The Blacks being Rhaenyra and her crew over in Dragonstone, kind of mirroring Daenerys from Game of Thrones, and the Greens being Alicent and everyone over in King's Landing. Rhaenyra is gathering her forces over in Dragonstone so she can finally claim that Iron Throne. Meanwhile, the Greens work to defend their claim to the throne. That's the basic premise of this season, which, yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I thought this season of House of the Dragon was awesome. Way better than Season 1, that's for sure. Because Season 1, you know, it had all those jarring time jumps, which I understand, it was all the setup. Now the setup is done, and we can get into the meat of the story of House of the Dragon. That's what Season 2 is, and that's what it's gonna be through Season 4. So there are no more jarring time jumps. That's great. No, all 8 episodes of this season happen sequentially, chronologically. So that was refreshing. And I know there's a lot to talk about when it comes to a season of House of the Dragon or Game of Thrones, anything. It's a really dense show, so I know I'm not gonna be touching on everything that happens in this season. There will be things that I forget to talk about, sure, for which I apologize in advance, but don't worry, I still got plenty to say. So we're gonna start off with Aegon on the Iron Throne. Cause yeah, he's just as bad at being a king as we all thought he would be from Season 1. He's really immature, he just doesn't understand the responsibilities of being a ruler. He can't just think about himself, and he can't just take the easy way out of things. He has to think about everybody. There's that scene where he's on the throne and he's taking in citizens' requests. That one shepherd comes up and he's like, my sheep are being fed to the dragons, that's not cool. And Aegon's like, all right, well, we won't feed them to the dragons anymore. Then Otto Hightower, his hand at the time, comes up and he's like, the dragons need to be fed in case we go to war. And then Aegon's like, oh yeah, oops. Sorry, Shepherd, we're actually not gonna save your sheep. It's just, yeah, it just shows how unfit Aegon is to lead. You're unworthy! That's also the same scene where we meet Hugh, who ended up being like one of my favorite characters this season. More on him later. Over in Dragonstone, Rhaenyra is mourning the loss of her son. From the finale of Season 1, we saw that happen. And she has but one single line in the first episode here. I want Aemond Targaryen. Which I guess Damon took to mean, alright, son for a son. Bet. He sends these 2 rat catchers who I guess are only known by the names Blood and Cheese. I guess he did send them to initially kill Aemond with the subtext of, if they can't find them, kill the king's heir instead. And so that's what they do. That's the end of the first episode. They sneak into the king's quarters and they kill this kid. I mean, we don't see it happen on screen, but yeah, we hear it. Yeah. To which, of course, Aegon is super pissed. He's like, I declare war, bashing the model. I was like, dude. I mean, no one can blame him for acting that way, but that was still kind of immature. When it comes to this world anyway, when it comes to Westeros, it's all a game. It is that Game of Thrones. It's just genius writing, and gotta give all sorts of props to George R.R. Martin for conceiving all of this. And so Otto Hightower, Rhys Ifans returning to this role. Dude, he is so good. The acting in this show is all around phenomenal, but Otto Hightower, he comes up to King Aegon, he's like, let's use this to our advantage. We'll hold a public funeral and we'll get the people of King's Landing to hate Rhaenyra, therefore supporting your claim to the throne. And so they do, but Aegon just, oh my god, he so does the wrong thing here.
Fuck dignity. I want revenge.
A couple of rat catchers killed my son. I guess we can't find the one who did it. So let's just hang all of the rat catchers we can find in public for everybody to see. Yeah, his son was attacked by a couple of rat catchers, so he retaliates by going back at them and just killing innocent people, just covering the entire ground so we know the fact that all the rat catchers are dead. And yeah, sure enough, Otto Hightower comes up once again, and he said what I was thinking. He's like, all right, you had your support, and you threw it all away because you wanted your revenge, you immature imbecile. Which unfortunately leads to Otto Hightower getting fired as the Hand of the King. Which, yeah, that sucked. I mean, he was so good. But no, Aegon just had to go and be a dumbass. He's like, you are my father's hand. I don't need you anymore. I'm gonna name Sir Criston Fucktoy the Hand of the King instead. I was like, oh my god. And so Criston Cole is sent over to Rook's Rest. I'll get back to that, boy will I. But for now, let's go back over to Dragonstone. Cause Damon, alright. Matt Smith as Damon Targaryen is still fantastic. In fact, Matt Smith is getting to be one of my favorite actors in the business right now, cause he is just so damn good. And he does have one of the creepiest glares I've ever seen, which is why he was so damn perfect in Last Night in Soho. But yeah, Damon sent those mercenaries to kill those people behind Rhaenyra's back. So after the argument they have,
do you accept me as your queen and ruler?
Damon's pretty much like, all right, fuck this. I'm gonna go take Harrenhal for you, queen. And so he goes over to Harrenhal, and pretty much for the majority of this entire season, Damon's just tripping balls over there. He's getting these weird visions and dreams. It's messing with his psyche and his self-conscious, which then he meets that witch lady, Alice Rivers, which, yeah, she's also one of my favorite characters this entire season because of her ominous vibe, the way she talks to him. So condescending, like, you have so much to learn. She's awesome. The one arc, the one, like, pocket of characters that I didn't really care much for this season was Corlys, the sea snake. Whenever he's talking to anyone on the harbor, I was always like, all right, what does this have to do with anything? I mean, I'm sure this does have to do with the whole of the overarching story of the show, but for the time being, whenever it cut over to him, I was more or less indifferent. I just never really saw how it tied to anything. I mean, again, Steve Toussaint is amazing in that role. I'm not discrediting that at all. Just the writing, I was like, I don't see it. I did love the scene in episode 3 where Rhaenyra sneaks over to King's Landing to talk with Alicent, and they discuss King Viserys' final moment, what he told Alicent in his deathbed about the prince that was promised and the vision of the Song of Ice and Fire. And Rhaenyra's like, oh shit, dude, he wasn't talking about your son, he was talking about something much bigger. And this is the scene where Alicent's like, oh, oops, I fucked up. I done goofed. And what's great about this is the fact that, yeah, Alicent learns the truth, but it's too late at this point. Even if she were to go back to the council and be like, Viserys wasn't talking about you, he was talking about something else, I'm pretty sure that wouldn't have changed anything, you know? Things are already set in motion and it's too late. War is inevitable. Again, that's just genius writing. Awesome scene right there, it really was. Then we get to episode 4, which is one of the most memorable episodes of this season, after which we are at the halfway point, the big battle at Rook's Rest. Rhaenys is like, I'll go over there and fight for you, my queen, because I have the most experience. I was like, yeah, that's a great point. Do it. And so she flies over there on her dragon. Meanwhile, Aegon is like, I want to fight too, damn it. So he makes the mistake of flying over there, the idiot. And this is where Aemon strikes. He manages to kill Rhaenys and her dragon. Yeah, they go down, and so Rhaenys is dead. Man, rest in peace to the queen who never was. Dude, again, Eve Best. So good as Rhaenys. Her dialogue was so amazing, like in the first episode where she's talking to Damon and he's like, fly with me, and she just walks off all like, would that you were the king. I was like, dude. Burn! So yeah, I'll definitely miss that character because she was awesome too. And then Aemon attacks his brother as well, because why wouldn't he, you know? He wants that throne too. But Aegon doesn't die. His dragon does, but Aegon just ends up severely burned. Holy shit. So for the rest of the season, he's just bedridden and depressed and a eunuch. That sucks, metaphorically anyway. And so Aemon takes his place as the regent ruler of King's Landing and the Seven Kingdoms. And this guy, yeah, I'll say he is more fit to lead than Aegon was, sure, but still not who I would pick. I mean, he kicks Alicent, his own mother, off the council because she's a woman. So, alright, he's a sexist piece of shit, which leads Alicent to go on this long, really depressing journey of self-searching and soul-searching, which leads to one of the best scenes in the finale, which I'll get to. Back in Dragonstone, Rhaenyra gets the idea to recruit an army of Targaryen bastards to her cause. In fact, that was one of my favorite lines from this entire season, where she says, let's raise an army of bastards. I don't know why, it's just the delivery of that line, the way she said it, I was like, that's awesome. And she makes that with Mysaria. Yeah, Mysaria's been like her go-to advisor pretty much for most of the season, and I'll never forget this scene. It was great. I was watching this with my mom because this is a show that my mom and I watch together, and when the two of them hug each other, I, as a joke, just a simple joke, I was like, $5 as they make out. No lie, I really said that. And then they do, I was like, okay. I didn't see that coming. It was a really funny coincidence. And I do wonder if that's gonna go anywhere in the future. I don't know, because I haven't read the books. I also really like Jacaerys Valerian this season, because with her mother's idea to raise an army of bastards, Jacaerys is not really on board with that, because he's like, if any bastard can ride a dragon, what does that make us? Which, yeah, I can see where he's coming from, but yeah, just that scene in the finale where he stands up to Ulf, and he's like, if you disrespect us, I will feed you to the dragons myself, or whatever he says. I was like, dude, Harry Collett as Jacaerys is great. Again, just another actor actor in the long list of amazing actors in this show, because that was so good. And so in episode 7, all these people come over to Dragonstone, and my god, I'm just gonna cut to this. That tracking shot with Hugh, where he is down there. This is a 3-minute tracking shot. He's down there with Vermithor, the big huge dragon, just setting everybody ablaze and killing every motherfucker. He's running around. He gets that one woman to safety by distracting the dragon, and then he's just facing down this enormous beast, and he's like, come on! I was like, this dude is awesome, and this scene is amazing. Oh my god, that is an Emmy moment right there. That had to be one of my favorite scenes in this entire series so far, because that was so badass. Even the dragon Vermithor was like, alright, you're cool. And then meanwhile, Ulf just stumbles into Silverwing's lair and he accidentally steps on one of her eggs, and then I guess he doesn't die. Now Silverwing picks him, and so he's like, okay. So now we have these 3 bastard riders, Hugh, Ulf, and Alan of Hull, who's one of Corlys's bastard sons. And so now, yeah, Rhaenyra has her army of 7 dragons, and we are ready for war. And so now we're in the finale. I'll start off with Damon. He's still over in Harrenhal tripping balls, where Alice Rivers, the witch lady, says he's finally ready to learn some shit. So he touches that tree, which I was like, yeah, that's some Bran Stark from Game of Thrones shit. And he gets this vision, which is pretty nuts. I mean, he sees the 3-eyed raven, he sees the White Walkers, he sees little Daenerys Targaryen with her little dragon eggs and her 3 little baby dragons. I was like, holy shit. But then I was like, oh yeah, that's right, the way Game of Thrones ended. We didn't need to be reminded of that. But yeah, that is where Damon finally realizes that he is not as important as he thinks he is. He is, as Alice says, but one piece on this giant game board, this Game of Thrones. And he does see Rhaenyra on the Iron Throne, which finally convinces him. He's like, okay, I guess I'm not deserving of it after all. I will bend the knee. So he finally goes back to Dragonstone with his new army, and he finally bends the knee for real. Because he says in High Valyrian, he's like, I've seen some shit. Winter is coming, so I will serve you. He turns back to the crowd. He's like, we fight for our queen. Rah! And everyone cheers. I was like, this is awesome. Yeah, that was some Lord of the Rings shit right there. That was badass. And throughout this entire finale, I was like, all right, we're getting ready for war. So we're gonna get the war in this episode, right? But the episode kept going, and I was like, we're running out of time. Were we gonna go to war here or what? Then Alicent shows up, and this dialogue, this exchange that she has with Rhaenyra, this is the scene I'm talking about, which, yeah, this is also one of the best scenes in this entire series so far. The writing, the acting. Oh my god, it's so phenomenal. Emma Darcy and Olivia Cook, they both deserve Emmys for this one scene alone, I feel. Because Alicent, in her depressed state of mind, she's like, I just want to run away from everything. I'm done with it all. Which, yeah, no one can blame her at all. So she's like, all right, here's a tip. You can just go take your throne because everyone's gonna be away. You can avoid war altogether. I'm out. But Rhaenyra's like, dude, war is inevitable. I was hoping for deterrence, but it's just too late now. I'm going to need to cut off Aegon's head. You know this. A son for a son. Do you agree? And Alicent, she thinks long and hard about it, and she eventually comes to. She's like, all right. Yeah, holy shit. We never thought she would have done this, but she is willing to sacrifice her own son. What the fuck? And this is pretty much where this season ends. Yeah, we're not at the war yet. This whole finale was just build-up, but it was great build-up. I can't wait for season 3, dude. Oh, actually, wait, one more thing. Is Helena a fortune teller? Can she see the future? I was confused by that scene she had with Aemond in the finale. She was like, yeah, I saw you attack your brother. I was like, well, huh? Is she in cahoots with Alice Rivers or something? Because she did show up in Damon's vision. If I missed something or forgot something, feel free to let me know in the comments, but that just kind of threw me off guard. But yeah, that was the end of this season. In the end, House of the Dragon Season 2 was awesome. One of my favorite TV seasons I've seen this year so far. And I couldn't go without giving all sorts of props to the crew behind the cameras. The huge sets they built, they went out and shot on location. They invented new technology and gadgets that they used for certain scenes. Yeah, we watched the house that dragons built. It was really cool. It's like, yeah, this show was actually made with love. It felt really refreshing to see. Because like compared to stuff that Disney, Marvel, or Star Wars does, with them, admittedly, it doesn't really feel like that anymore. So to see behind the scenes footage of each episode as they aired, and it shows everyone being interviewed, the crew, the cast, it shows that no, everyone in front of and behind the cameras cared about making this show the best version of itself it could possibly be. And I got nothing but mad respect for that. This is my favorite season of Game of Thrones anything that I've seen in years by a mile. Like, I dare say this is almost to par with peak Game of Thrones. This is just some masterclass television right here. And so we got 2 more seasons to go, plus a couple of other spin-off projects in the works. The world of Westeros is in full force. I love it. So, House of the Dragon Season 2. Have you watched it all? What are your thoughts on it? And what are your theories and predictions for Season 3 and beyond? And when do you think we're going to be getting Season 3? Whatever you think, go ahead and leave a comment. And of course, thank you for subscribing. Peace!